Right, A Planned Deception, The Staging of a New Age Messiah by Constance Cumbey. Chapter 1, A Planned Deception. It starts with a quote. Their script is now written, subject only to last-minute editing and stage directions. The stage itself, albeit as yet in darkness, is almost ready. Down in the pit, the subterranean orchestra is already tuning up. That's great. The last-minute walk-on parts are even now being filled. Most of the main actors, one suspects, have already taken up their roles. Soon it will be time for them to come on stage, ready for the curtain to rise. The time for action will have come. And that's a quote. She's quoting from the Armageddon script by Peter Lemessurier, St. Martin's Press, 1982. Then she begins. One could easily think the above paragraph came from a Hal Lindsey book, warning Christians of the evil that is to come. Incredibly, such is not the case. The above quote is the summation of the Armageddon script by Peter Lemessurier, a noted pyramidologist/occultist. It is a how-to manual for New Agers and intellectuals interested in staging a simulated second coming of Christ. The script they write, if successfully staged, could deceive even the very elect. It is logical and proper to question why one might expect the average person of intelligence to support such a scheme. To the contrary, it is precisely the intellectual whose support is being courted and won for this undertaking. The Armageddon script is based upon theories popular among the intelligentsia, and they are being courted by flatteries. The theories behind the Armageddon script will seem familiar to those studied in psychological theories. Many laymen, too, have heard of Jungian archetypes. Briefly stated, the belief is that humanity has unfulfilled prophecy or Jungian archetypes cluttering up its collective psyche. I don't know if that's an accurate description, but there you go. They further believe that a prophecy, once uttered, takes on a life of its own. They believe that prophecy is essentially self-fulfilling. This prophetic life is called an archetypal image or archetype. When humanity or significant segments of it await such fulfillment, it impedes human progress in other areas. Therefore, they say, we owe it to ourselves and to humanity as a whole to take steps to exorcise or remove these prophecies, hanging over us like a sword of Damocles, ready to wreak mischief at any time. Close quotes. Lemessurier suggests detailed steps for a script-type fulfillment to serve as a lightning rod against fulfillment at another, less convenient time. And she's quoting all this stuff from this book, the Armageddon script. The Bible well noted that in the last days, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. Truly, the author of the Armageddon script shows evidence of strong delusion when he proclaims, there is no likelihood that these prophecies will be fulfilled. He forgets his own possible role in their fulfillment. Lemessurier is a man with strong New Age connections, including a publishing relationship with the Findehorn Foundation in northern Scotland. His books are widely promoted and sold in New Age bookstores. Remember, this is 1985, this is written. They show that he strongly supports and promotes the New Age philosophies, including those of New Age favourites Trungpa Rampa, Edgar Cayce, Hugh Schoenfeld, Teilhard de Chardin, and even David Spangler. he makes reference to the Aquarian gospel of Jesus the Christ as well. From those sources, he has compiled a startling agenda for proposed new worldwide deception. It is further obvious that this New Ager, unlike many of the others, carefully studied the Bible. This was done for purposes of suggesting a scenario which could deceive less than well-informed Christians. If his plan, clearly part of what the New Agers call the plan, were executed as written, it might be enough, as Jesus said, to deceive the very elect. What is the proposed agenda that this subterranean orchestra is already tuning up for down in the pit? It is a truly startling one. First, it calls for having their new Messiah in the Holy Land by 1985, or no later than the arrival of Halley's Comet in 1986. This new leader is to carefully prepare for his role by studying scriptures and Dead Sea Scrolls, current Jewish messianic expectations, familiarizing himself with prophecies of other major world religions and, quote, the best in New Age religious thought. The science of earthquake prediction would then be employed for the remainder of the initial scenario. Le Mesurier coolly described some of them as follows. A. The restored Messiah must reappear on Jerusalem's Mount of Olives at the time of a great earthquake. B. He must enter Jerusalem from the east, escorted by a procession of rejoicing followers dressed in shining white. C. Visiting the tomb of his spiritual ancestor, King David, he must emerge in suitably perfumed royal robes as the great monarch returned. D. Supported by a popular rising, he must proceed with his followers to the Temple Mount, there to be enthroned, anointed, and crowned King of the new Israel. She finished quotes. But I can hear you arguing. Surely no thinking person would expect such a program to succeed, given the large number of determined Catholics, Protestants, and sceptical Jewish observers who might give opposition. To the contrary, this resistance has been calculated and dismissed. Quote, the massed forces of the old age, however, will be unable to check their headlong onrush. In large measure, they will go on to destroy each other in a massive mutual venting of long pent-up aggression. That's from the Armageddon script as well. What sort of a program will be offered to satisfy the spiritual needs of those living under this regime? As expected, Le Mesurier rightly notes that it will not be the traditional Christian ones. Quote, the new mission to the youth of the world, then, will be an international movement dedicated to spreading the already developing ideas and values upon which the new age is to be founded. Those ideas and values will not necessarily be the traditional Christian ones. For the wisdoms of all ages and cultures will be called upon to surrender their most precious secrets, and the collective human psyche will add to it yet further wisdoms that have so far never even been expressed. It is for the soul of man that the new David will have to fight. Le Mesurier may well be right for the wrong reasons. Yes, the wisdom of all ages and cultures will be called upon, and they will surrender their most precious secrets. The Apostle John was clearly shown this by the Lord in the course of his Patmos Island vision. Quotes Revelations. And after these things I saw another angel came down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Revelations 18:1-3, King James. Lest anyone think Le Mesurier is alone, please note the following. His books have received the benefit of major publisher support both here and in England. It was a major book club selection in England. Major New Age conferences have been held on this very theme. One such conference was reported in a matter-of-fact style in September 1983 New Age Journal. Appropriately entitled Facing Apocalypse, it was attended by 125 activists of the Jungian persuasion. It was organised by Robert Bosnak, excuse me, a Jungian analyst from Sudbury, Massachusetts. Its premise was that the vision of a cataclysmic ending of the world is itself a menace. The conference was held in an incredibly elegant hall that formerly served as a millionaire's mansion at Salve Regina College in Newport, Rhode Island. Some of the better known in attendance included Dr. Robert J. Lifton of Yale University, James Hillman, considered the country's leading Jungian scholar, analyst, psychologist Mary M. Watkins of Clark University, Sicilian poet and anti-mafia leader Danilo Dolci, Wolfgang Giegerich of the Young Institute in Stuttgart, and theologian David Miller of Syracuse University. The reader should be reminded as well that the infamous Humanist Manifesto in effect carries this very theme. In the preface to the Humanist Manifesto, number 2, its authors state, quote, as in 1933, humanists still believe that traditional theism, especially faith in the prayer hearing God, assumed to love and care for persons, to hear and understand their prayers, and to be able to do something about them, is an unproved and outmoded faith. Salvation, based on mere affirmation, still appears as harmful, diverting people with false hopes of heaven hereafter. Still, a prayer's a prayer, isn't it? I mean, anyway. Reasonable minds look to other means for survival. Close quotes. This was reinforced within the body of the manifesto itself. Quote, promises of immortal salvation or fear of eternal damnation are both illusory and harmful. Kind of depends where you are in life, doesn't it? I mean, if you're fucking 30 seconds from death, they might be quite useful. You know, no atheists in a foxhole, is it? They distract humans from present concerns, from self-actualization, and from rectifying social injustices. Do they? I mean, that's debatable. You could probably spend an hour picking that little quote apart. I mean, let's not get into that. Maybe later. One can easily see where the area of Jungian archetypes and acting out an end-time drama is an area in which occultists, atheists, and agnostic humanists can find common ground. The occultists of all New Age persuasions could easily support such a figure because they believe it is their Christ as they define it. You see, this is a slight aside. I disagree with this because as I've come to tell a lot of people, there's no reason why a Christian, someone who studies the Bible, cannot be described as an occultist. Even Aleister Crowley said, read your Bible. It's an occult document. I mean, I'll do a video on this anyway. Where was I? Blah, blah, blah. The atheist could participate because he would feel it would contribute to the furthering of human progress on the planet, with people being discharged of their ideas of a coming deity for once and for all. The humanists could participate because it would further the aims of their manifestos. In fact, maybe the humanists and the New Agers are really not so far apart as that, or at that. Didn't the 1973 Humanist Manifesto number 2 read, "We stand at the dawn of a new age"? Many recognisable New Agers and occultists appear as signers of the 1973 document, including Isaac Asimov, Archie Baum, and Lester R. Brown of the World Watch Institute. Likewise, the 1933 original manifesto, manifesto was not without occultist influence. Oliver L. Reiser, a Lucis Trust activist par excellence, appears as a signer to that original declaration. So he's getting interested now. The Book of Daniel warned that the coming world dictator would not come initially with guns. The angel warned him instead, and in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honour of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Daniel 11:21, King James. The real question is not whether there will be flatteries or not, but what form will they take. I believe the central flattery the Antichrist and his followers will employ is the same as that consistently employed by Satan in the past. Thou shalt be as gods. However, it is also evident that he has been courting the intelligentsia by flattering themselves into thinking they can change the course of history, by concerted play acting a false messiah into his domain. Daniel was further warned, quote, "And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits." Daniel 11:32, King James. It is evident from the context of the Daniel passage that while Lucifer is busy inspiring his forces, God will likewise give great strength to his people. And she's titled this section, "A Proper Response to the Armageddon Script." Nearly done. Important advice for Christians is found in Isaiah chapter 8. First, it tells that nothing will ultimately prevail against God's true body. Secondly, it tells us whom we should truly fear. Quote, "Associate yourselves, O ye people, and ye shall be broken in pieces, and give ear, all ye of far countries. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Gird yourselves, and ye shall be broken in pieces. Take counsel together, and it shall come to naught. Speak the word, and it shall not stand. For God is with us. For the Lord spoke thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, Say ye not, a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say, a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Sanctify the Lord of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread." Isaiah 8:9-13, King James. As she continues, one may quickly see that the planned deception is incredible in detail and magnitude, perhaps enough to deceive even the very elect. One way that the elect might remain alert to such deception is to remind themselves how Christ is really to appear. Therefore, we will know that no matter how impressive the show or the people calling for his acceptance, if we are standing on the ground, he is a clear-cut phony. We will behold Christ in the air, not on the air, as some prominent TV evangelists have suggested. Owning a television set is not a prerequisite to viewing our Lord's second coming in power and great glory. I have recently been startled at how many fine Christians have expressed the belief to me that when the Bible said, "Every eye shall see him," it meant on television. They should know that Benjamin Creme says this too. It is important that we not be ignorant of Satan's devices. However, it is even more important that we know where to place our fear and our trust. We fear not them that can slay the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Sorry, that was a quote. We fear not them that can slay the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Luke 12:4. That's the end of chapter 1.